First of all, I'm Marty Walsh, the mayor of the city of Boston. Thank you for having me today. Those of you that don't know, I'm joined today by City Council President Andrea Campbell, City Councilor Eddie Flynn, City Councilor Josh Jacob, and State Representative Mike Conley, who are all here behind with Mike. Mike is there with us today. And I think I can safely say that the entire Boston City Council, a lot of the legislators of the State House, the Democratic legislators, all support all of us today, what we're doing here today, but also in our fight for so much that's happened in our country over the last 2 years. I want to thank the groups that put today together: MIRA, Healthcare for All, the Health Law Advocates, and the Massachusetts Law Reform. I want to thank Alejandro Sanquian from the Office of Immigrant Advancement. I want to thank Marty Martinez, Chief of Health and Human Services. I want to thank all of the different city departments and agencies that are here today in the different work that we do. Immigration is spread throughout all of our departments, whether it's economic development, whether it's arts and culture, whether it's development, whether it's whatever it is. We all work very closely together on the issues of advancing immigrant rights and not looking to take away immigrant rights. So I want to be very clear on that today. I want to thank all the families that are here and that couldn't be with us today, all the allies, all the immigrants, and all the people who help make our city what it is today. You and the generations of immigrants like you are what makes America great, and you've heard the story more than one time. I'm a proud son of 2 immigrants that came to this country to send money back home to their home in Ireland, to their families. They got married, they raised a family here. My house is a proud immigrant household, and we're going to continue, and many of us here in this room and many of us in this city. 28% of the people that live in our city, we have 700,000 people living in our city, 28% of those folks were born in another country. 48% of the people that live in our city are first generation like I am, like a lot of us in this room. So when you think about our city, you think about who we are, and you can take that across from the Atlantic to the Pacific. We are an immigrant nation, and we should not forget that we're an immigrant nation. My parents, as I mentioned earlier, relied on the community for support to make a better life for me and my brother, and there's many times that community came together. And I grew up in the kitchen where Gaelic was spoken. When my family came over, it was Gaelic in the kitchen, and we had to learn it to know when we're in trouble and when we weren't in trouble. And you know, so that's the house we grew up in. And the reason why I'm standing here as mayor of the city, and the reason why a lot of us are in elective office, is because of the families we grew up in and the supports that we might have had, particularly around anything that was important in the households. The American promise is right here in this building, and that's what we're fighting for. This latest attack on immigrants is an absolute disgrace, as the ones previously to this were. It will hurt mothers who are trying to feed their children, grandparents trying to get the basic health care needs, making sure that you know, we want to fight for them. That's why we're here today. Tens of thousands of Bostonians could be affected. These are our friends. These are our neighbors. These are the people who we go to church with. These are the people we love. These are the people that we associate with every single day. These are human beings, and we cannot let that happen. And the scary thing, the uncertain thing about this latest attack on immigrants is this rule has not gone into effect yet. And let's be clear, so as we leave here today, let's make sure we talk to our friends and neighbors and family members to let them know that do not give your benefits up. Do not give your benefits up. And this rule does not affect your potential status if you have a green card to become a citizen. So it's another piece. We have to make sure that when we get information out, that we get the right information out. Because this White House is used to just getting people afraid. This White House is used to scaring people, being threatened, being bullies, being punks, quite honestly. And we have to make sure that we educate people and let them know the information that they need so they have the information in front of them. Because as we saw in January 2 years ago, a lot of people were afraid to go out their front door. As we saw different conversations around ICE coming into neighborhoods, we saw people afraid to go to the doctor. We saw people afraid to go to the park. We saw kids afraid crying in the classrooms. We saw all this. And these threats continue to come from Washington. So we need to make sure that we pass the correct information out. And the organizations that are in this room today, we need to work with them, the people that aren't affiliated with the organization in the room, we need to work with them so we make sure that we get the correct information out across the city of Boston, across the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, quite honestly. We're doing everything we can in our power to stop this. We're submitting an impact analysis that shows exactly how devastating this would be to our community and would be to our economy. And I've joined mayors across America in demanding that DHS reconsider. U.S. Conference of Mayors, hundreds of mayors across America are saying, wait a second, those mayors are Democrats, those mayors are Republicans, those mayors are concerned about the people that live in their cities and towns all across this country. We represent cities from all over America, red states, blue states, and we're standing united in this. We're going to continue to move forward as mayors, as a coalition, to make sure we continue to push back on these policies. Members of the Trump administration have forgotten their ancestry and came to seeking a better life. Their ancestors, they came here. They fled hunger. They fled sickness. They fled poverty, like many of our families. And one generation later, they completely forgot where their family came from because they have the opportunity to serve in the White House because of their parents and grandparents and the struggle that they had to get to this country. And now they want to take benefits away from the same exact people that put food on their table and clothes on their back and gave them the opportunity to work in that building down in Washington, D.C. In Boston, we should not ever forget where we came from. And if you come across somebody that forgot, remind them that not too long ago, their family took a plane or a boat ride over to the shores here. Or they might have crossed the border. And they might have walked across the border. But they came here for the same reasons. They didn't come here to take from America. They came here to build America and to add to America. So in Boston, we will not turn our back on anybody, because that's not who we are. As I mentioned earlier, Chief Martinez and Alejandro St. Guillen are here today. And they're going to be here. If we have any questions, we can ask what we're going to do as a city, we're going to continue to do. Every single day, their teams are connecting with people and services, from free consultation with immigrants and lawyers to workshops for TPS holders. If you're worried about these proposed changes and how they would affect you, you can go to our website, boston.gov/immigrants. It's important that if people have information. It also has a list of community partners on there so we can know who to reach out to and who to talk to. When I got elected mayor in 2014, I asked Alejandra to run the office of New Bostonians. And our office at the time was an office, but it was a commission. And I said, we need to do more. So Alejandra went downstairs and she revamped the whole office. And we changed the name, but we didn't change the name, we changed the mission. The mission was from New Bostonians greeting people when it was created. It was a place that people that come to this country this city could come and get connected to Boston. And we felt that in 2014 it was important to change it because we changed it from welcoming immigrants to advancing immigrants. And we didn't know that 2 years later that the world would be changed upside down. And we're still welcoming, but we're still advancing immigrant rights. And we didn't change the name to get rid of the department. We changed the name to advance immigrant rights in our city and take it across the Commonwealth. And we're going to continue to do that and continue to fight that. So you make sure you use our office as a resource. Before I hand it off to Councilor Zakem, I want the immigrant community to know that we are always going to stand with you and fight for your families and fight with your families. We're going to stand up against cruelty. We're going to do everything in our power to make sure that the immigrant community in our city is welcome and feels welcome, and while they're here, are welcome and part of our society, because you are part of our society. You are valued members of the Boston community. We see you, we love you, and we will continue to fight for you. That's my message today. My message today, let's not let the fear mongering that they're doing in Washington, D.C. spill into our city of Boston, because we are a special place here in this city, and cities across America, and cities across Massachusetts like the city of Cambridge and other cities. So I want to thank you all for being here today. I want to thank you for coming out. Now I have the honor, before I bring up Josh, please make sure we get the information out to people. We need to get the information out to people. I can't tell you the amount of times I've been on the street, at a playground, doing a parade, and I see somebody from another country and they come up to me and they'll whisper in my ear because they feel they can't talk out loud and they can't speak to somebody in public office out loud. They'll whisper something they're afraid of. We need to make sure that we're going to fight this. We're going to fight this tooth and nail. But we need to make people know, make them aware of what is the law today and what is not the law today, and what changes could happen and what changes might not happen, and we need to raise our voice. So I ask you all to elevate your voice. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, talk to your friends, talk to your neighbors, get those signs in your windows, get those signs on your streets, get those signs all over the place. Let people know. Go to the parties, go to church, wherever you go, talk to people about what's happening in this country. Talk about the impacts it has on people. Because it's so important. I am honestly tired of coming to these rallies. I like going to rallies, but I'm tired of these rallies because these rallies aren't the rallies I want to go to. These aren't the rallies that we're fighting for higher wages for workers. These aren't the rallies where we're supporting people. These are the rallies where somebody's trying to tear families apart and scare them. These are the rallies that we should not be having in the United States of America. These are the rallies we should be seeing on the news, watching news at night, seeing what's happening in other countries. We shouldn't be having these rallies here in the United States of America. When we were founded as a country, we were founded for the United States of America. There's something in that word united, why it's in the word, why it's part of our country. We're a united country. Our shores are open to people. We should be welcoming people to this country. We shouldn't be scaring them. We shouldn't be kicking them out. We shouldn't be taking their benefits away. These are hardworking people that work in our society every single day, alongside us every single day. So I want to thank you for being here this morning. And I want to bring up a person who got elected and got sworn in the same day I did as mayor, as a city councilor. And for the entire 5 years that he's been in office, he's been fighting for immigrant rights since he's been a city councilor. He's not afraid to take the fight to the floor. He's not afraid to take the fight to the streets. City Councilor Josh Hagan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Standing here before you as a city councilor, as chair of the City Council's Committee on Civil Rights, as an advocate, as an activist, as a resident of the city of Boston, and as the grandson of refugees who came to this country looking for a better life, fleeing war across the ocean. As so many have come to this country, have made us a nation of immigrants. And I got to agree with the mayor. I echo his comments that we are at too many of these rallies. We are at too many of these meetings. We are fighting battles that we should be done with already here in this year in the United States of America. It is unacceptable. This new attempt by Donald Trump and his racist administration to confuse people, to scare people, to divide us is cruel. It's mean-spirited. It is meant only to discriminate and to push people away from benefits they need. We've heard from the organizations that have put this rally together, from advocates, from pediatricians, from doctors, of what a real detrimental effect these proposed changes could have, not just on our peace of mind, not just on our communities, but on the health and welfare of millions of children across the country. This new rule is meant to discourage many tax-paying immigrants, which is often lost in the conversation, people who are participating in our economy, their U.S. citizen children, and others with legal status from taking the benefits that they are entitled to, the same that we all are. This is unacceptable. I am proud to be here with you. I am proud to be on the Boston City Council with my colleagues, some of whom are here today, who have stood up every single time for civil rights, for inclusion. Whether we were passing the Boston Trust Act unanimously in 2014 that Mayor Walsh signed, making this city a sanctuary city. Whether we have stood up to advocate to continued TPS in the face of the Trump administration. Whether we're rallying for the Safe Communities Act, and it's great to see Representative Mike Connolly here, who's been working for that at the State House. We need to keep doing this. We cannot forget. We cannot let Donald Trump and his supporters and his enablers make us all forget what this country is all about. This is a country that welcomes people from across the ocean, from across the border, and Boston is a city that has done that from the very beginning. We are here. I know we wanted to be outside, but I think it's better that we're here in Faneuil Hall, one of the rooms where a couple hundred years ago, people who looked a lot different than the room is here today, set out the rules and the philosophy how we are going to try and govern this country and bring a diverse population together. We are at risk right now of losing a lot of that. And for us to come here and take time out of our days and for you to be here and support these efforts is so important. We have to send the signal that this is not what our country stands for. It's certainly not what Boston stands for. And we can talk about the statistics, about the billions of dollars in contributions to our economy made by our immigrant neighbors, about the millions who are participating every single day, about the health care outcomes, about the fear in our communities that it results from these policies and these rules. But this isn't about numbers. It's about people. It's about people like you, like me, like everyone here who have the right to be in this country, who have the right to peace of mind, the right to pursue the American dream. And I'm excited to be here with you because we need to continue standing up. And that's why at this Wednesday's City Council meeting, I'm going to be introducing a resolution formally calling on the Trump administration to reject these changes. I expect, as we have over and over again, the council to stand behind us. We know the mayor does and our colleagues, and we need to speak up with one voice. Here in the city of Boston, throughout Massachusetts, throughout this country. So thank you for being here. I look forward to continuing this work because we cannot rest, because we need to stay mad and we need to stay active. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor Walsh, Councilor Zakem, and to the state administration. It is great to have friends in Boston and across the state who are willing to fight for our families. Good afternoon. My name is Liza Ryan Gill, and I'm the Director of Organizing at the Massachusetts Immigrant and Refugee Advocacy Coalition, otherwise known as MIRA. And I have a question for you. Is this acceptable? No. Is this acceptable? Are we going to let this attack on working immigrant families stand? No. You're right. We are going to fight back. Even before this administration took office, it made its intentions clear. It wanted to sow fear and division. And this is yet another attempt to scare us and divide us. But just as tens of thousands of us stood out there and rallied against the first Muslim ban, rallied against the wall, and rallied against the separation of families, so we will not let this threat go unanswered. We know that working immigrant families are an essential part of our economy. And the idea of penalizing people for being working class is not only nativist, it's classist. Not only that, but this proposal starts from a fundamentally dishonest and bigoted premise that immigrants are a drain on America, especially if they're working class. It would penalize immigrants who use safety net programs that millions of working Americans use when they don't earn enough to make ends meet. And it would make it much easier to deny green cards to immigrants who don't earn at least $63,000, a very high bar. Essentially, what this administration is trying to do is limit immigration to this country to the young, to the wealthy, and the white. Something he was not able to accomplish through Congress, so he is now attempting to sneak in through the back door. But we have an opportunity to keep these radical changes from happening. If we come together to write and file comments in opposition to this rule change over the next 55 days, an easy way to join with us, Sarag, if you want to stand, is to text the letters PIF to the number 52886. You'll be directed to a comment page where you can share your personal story or professional opinion on why this proposal is immoral and draconian. Look around you. You'll see more signs and probably little hand cards that also have the number, again, that is PIF to the number 52886. We are going to fight this with all of our might, but we need each and every one of you to join us in this fight. We need to collect 100,000 comments across this country, and Massachusetts has to show up. This administration is trying to scare immigrant families into disenrolling from the services that many working-class Americans use to support their families. Let us not help him achieve this goal. Do not disenroll. Say that again. Do not disenroll. Instead, we will fight back by commenting and working with all of us together to educate our communities. We can fight this, and we will fight this. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Mayor Walsh, Councilor Zakam, all members of the City Council, and other elected officials and representatives of elected officials that are here today. We're really honored by your presence, and I want to thank you for your leadership, Mayor Walsh. You've been a champion for the immigrant community in Boston and across Massachusetts. My name is Georgia Katsalamidis, daughter of poor Greek immigrants, proud daughter of poor Greek immigrants, and I'm the executive director of the Massachusetts Law Reform Institute. Mass Law Reform Institute is a statewide poverty law and policy center. Our mission is to advance economic, racial, and social justice for all people in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. The rule proposed by the Trump administration is a departure of over 100 years of established immigration law and policy. Immigration laws have long recognized that access to basic human needs and services, such as health care, nutrition assistance, housing, are critical not only for the health and well-being of our families, but they're also critical to our society as a whole and to our economy. The ability to access these safety net programs increase economic stability and mobility for working immigrant families, many of whom work in low-wage jobs. The great mythology that has been perpetrated is that benefit programs are being vastly abused. First of all, that's wrong from a general perspective. That's not accurate. But the immigrants that we are talking about here today are people who pay taxes, most of whom are working and simply do not make wages that are high enough, and they're struggling. This new rule goes against this long-established philosophy that we need to embolden our immigrant community to help them move up and advance. If this rule is implemented, it will not only destabilize hundreds of thousands of working immigrant families, it will increase poverty, it will harm children, it will create a potential public health crisis, and in the long run, it will actually cost everybody in the Commonwealth more, both in terms of more money and both in terms of the loss of human capital. We will be depriving people of their basic human needs, which is not only immoral, but it is completely counterproductive for what this country has stood for over 2 centuries. This is why people across the country from a wide range of sectors are concerned and outraged at this proposal, because it is not only cruel and unfair, it is unjust and harmful to all of us, to the economy. Family or food, no one should have to choose. I want to emphasize something that the mayor said. This is not over yet. This is only the beginning of the process. This is only a proposal at this time. Nothing has changed yet. The immigration laws and policies around public charge have not changed yet. The public has until December 10 to submit comments in opposition to that rule. And by law, the Department of Homeland Security has to read the comments that are submitted by the public and take them into consideration before any final rule is implemented in any form. This is where we need your help. Liza provided you with information of how you can text to get access to the online portal where public comments can be submitted. We urge everybody in this room to please submit comments. This is one of the rare opportunities that if we all contact the government, actually it's not rare, I shouldn't say that. This is the way democracy works. If we make our voices heard, this is an opportunity to stop something catastrophic from happening in this country. And I urge all of you to please make your voices heard and to please tell everybody in your networks, your neighbors, your friends, your colleagues, to please do the same. I also want to emphasize to immigrants who may be receiving any of the benefits in question, nutrition assistance in the form of SNAP, public housing, federal housing subsidies, and health care. Please do not disenroll from your benefits. That is very, very important. There are several months to go before any rule is final. If you are uncertain how you or your family will be impacted by this rule, please seek advice from a qualified immigration lawyer or immigration practitioner or from an immigrant-serving organization that has access to people that have accurate information. This is an extremely complicated rule. It is almost 500 pages long. Even people that have been specializing in immigration policy for many years have found it to be very complicated and difficult to figure out. And there is there's a great deal of misinformation or wrong information that's both in the media and in the public domain. So please make sure you have the right information before you do anything regarding your benefits. Mass Law Reform Institute and our many partners across the state, both in the legal aid community and outside the legal aid community, are actively and affirmatively reaching out to immigrant-serving organizations and to ethnic media to make sure that everyone has accurate information. As the mayor alluded to, one of the underlying goals of this proposal is to create fear and panic in immigrant communities. Do not succumb to the panic. Do not drop your benefits without having accurate facts and advice. Let's be really clear about one more thing. This is not only an attack on immigrants. It's also an attack on working families. It's an attack on children. It's an attack on people with disabilities. It is an attack on people over the age of 62. It is an attack on immigrants who may not be high earners, who make over $62,000 a year, which is well above the average median income for Americans in general. And this is why this is this is an immoral and it's a very cruel proposal. It affects a wide range of people. Yes, it targets the immigrant communities, but there's an underlying message here. This country was founded by immigrants, and it was made great by immigrants. And for over 2 centuries, the United States has served as a beacon of hope and opportunity for immigrants like my parents and many of your parents and many of your ancestors who, under the rules that the Trump administration is trying to propose, would not have even been allowed in the country because they just didn't have enough money. If we allow this rule to be implemented, instead of welcoming immigrants with the words, "Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free," the United States will instead be sending the message, "Give us your wealthy, you're healthy, you're completely able-bodied, and everyone else is not really welcome here. Everyone else need not apply." That's not what this country stands for. That's why we have to fight this tooth and nail. If you believe in American values, you should be opposed to this proposal. This proposal does not reflect the United States of America and what it purports to stand for. To our immigrant neighbors and friends who are right now, I'm sure, very scared and facing uncertainty, I want to tell you, you are not alone. There are hundreds of advocates in Massachusetts and thousands of advocates around the country, and we are joined by many, many citizens, private citizens, who are ready to fight this. We will stand with you, and we will stand beside you. And if there's one thing that we've learned, when we fight, we win. Immigrants made America great, and immigrants will keep America great. And with that, I want to turn it to my colleague, Justin Lowe, the Legal Director of Health Law Advocates. Thank you very much for being here today.
Good afternoon. My name is Justin Lowe. I am the Legal Director of Health Law Advocates. We are a nonprofit public interest law firm dedicated to providing no-cost health care to individuals who are income qualified and who are having difficulty accessing medical care. We as an organization are committed to reaching the goal of universal access to quality health care here in Massachusetts, irrespective of factors such as race, age, disability status, geographic location, or gender. We in the Commonwealth have made great progress in advancing the fight for health care and achieving health justice. As many of you know, we are already the only state in the country with the highest rate of health insurance coverage. We have seen great improvements throughout the state in health outcomes, long-term health outcomes, because we've expanded access to preventative health care and other needed medical services. As you've already heard, this rule by the Trump administration, this rule threatens all of our progress. And this rule offends our values. The speakers who have come before have already talked a little bit about the rule. The rule imposes arbitrary income requirements on folks who are seeking to enter the country. The rule is intended to scare, to frighten, to intimidate individuals from giving up needed health care benefits. The rule, most of all, is a rule that spreads the false message that the United States only welcomes the rich, the able-bodied, and the privileged. Like so many of you, so many of the speakers here today, I am the son of immigrants who came to this country 50 years ago in search of a better life. I know as you know, this is a false view. And so we at Health Law Advocates, the advocates who are here gathered in this room, your elected officials, we are gathered here today to fight against this rule. We are not going to go back to a time when health care was a privilege reserved for the few. We are not going to go back to a time when emergency rooms, hospitals, and individual taxpayers are left on the hook for expensive emergency medical services. And so we have 60 days in this public comment period, and it's up to you to raise your voice and to let Washington know how you feel, how this rule is going to affect you, how this rule is going to tear apart our communities. And I don't want you to be intimidated by that. The public comment period sounds really scary, but we, as advocates, the Protecting Immigrant Families Massachusetts campaign, we have resources that are available for you. So I encourage you to talk to anybody in this room who's from any of these organizations, MIRA, the Mass Law Reform Institute, Healthcare for All, or Health Law Advocates. We are here to stand beside you so that your voice can be heard. And together, we will send the message to Washington that at least here in Massachusetts, health care is a human right. Thank you.
So I'm Andrea Campbell. I'm the president of the Boston City Council. And you heard my colleague, Councilor Zakhem, speak on behalf of the council, and why he led that effort is he chairs the Committee on Civil Rights, which we had to revitalize and bring back online because of these rallies and these conversations. So I first want to thank Councilor Zakhem, he just left, but Councilor Zakhem for his leadership with respect to these issues, including the passage of the Trust Act, which happened right before I actually joined the Boston City Council. I also want to thank Councilor Flynn, who is here, for his leadership and for your presence today. I also want to thank my colleagues who are not here. Every single member of the Boston City Council would be here if they weren't in a hearing that is happening right now, if they weren't away dealing with a funeral, if they weren't dealing with other things, they would be here if they could. And so I'm here to say on behalf of the entire City Council, we stand with not only the folks in this room and the organizers of this incredible event, we stand with the mayor, we stand with our agencies, our departments. I see all of our public and city employees that do this work every single day. They are on the front lines. We also stand with you. But most importantly, I think I'm here to also bring a sense of optimism. You know, I'm standing in here as the first African-American woman to lead the Boston City Council. And I say that not to toot my own horn, because I look at where we are standing. Slaves were bought and sold right here, right? Immigrants built this. And so I know that we're going to overcome this rule, this president, and we're not going to allow fear to not allow us to overcome all of this. And so I think I'm here to remind you that even when we are fearful, when we are angry, and yes, I am angry, and even when we are distressed, when we are sad, when we might be feeling alone, and to everyone who is out there, at least in the Commonwealth, you are not alone, as exemplified by the people standing here, but by the organizations and the network of resources that are available to you. But even when you are feeling all that, just for a moment, pause and maybe look around and see where you are. It might remind you that we're going to be okay, that we're going to get through this. And the sad piece is we're going to have to come back for more of these rallies, because the reality is this president came in with an agenda. He's not just racist, he's xenophobic, and he came with an agenda, whether we like it or not. So we're going to keep coming back for rallies to fight back against that agenda. But I think the silver lining in all of this for all of us is to remember the values that we all share as human beings and the humanity that connects us, even if our democracy has never demonstrated or actually exemplified the ideal of what we say our democracy should be for everybody. So we have a lot of work to do in recognizing the fact that, frankly, there are a lot of folks for a long time who felt left out. Whether they were African Americans in the city of Boston, around the country, immigrants, however you identify. There are a lot of folks for a long time who have felt left out. So the question is, how are we going to take these moments, not just to press against the immediate concerns, this rule and everything else, but to press back against individuals in this country who don't see the value in other folks, in their humanity, even if they look different from us, whether in race, ethnicity, or gender. So we have a lot of work to do. I'm here to stand with each and every one of you. Thank you to everyone in this room who came out at the very last minute, because I know this was scheduled at the last minute. Thank you for being here. Know that the council is ready and able to support the mayor and the administration and all of you, whether in resources, human capital, or just frankly to show up to these fights. But let's also remember the fight is bigger than just the immigrant community. It is about us seeing the humanity in every single person who chooses this great country to get a better life and to have a better life, not just for themselves, for their children, and also for each and every one of us that benefit from their hard work every single day making this country great. So thank you so much, and thank you to Miriam.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for being here today. This is really important, and I'm moved by what everybody's saying already. So my name is Hannah Frigand, and I direct the Healthcare for All's Consumer Helpline. Our Consumer Helpline is a resource for Massachusetts residents in accessing health coverage, answering healthcare questions, and we take about 20,000 calls a year in English, Spanish, and Portuguese. And a large amount of those calls are immigrants that need assistance. The member of our team are immigrants as well. They know how hard it can be to navigate the system and access the resources that you need to know about when you move to a new country. That's one of the reasons why we care so deeply about this issue. We've seen countless attacks on immigrants since the beginning of the Trump administration. This is yet another attack on lawful immigrants trying to make a better life for themselves and their families here in the United States. The changes to public charge, as proposed, would reward the healthy and the wealthy and harm the sick, the old, the young, and the poor. America is at its best when we value immigrants and what they bring to our communities, and value people coming here to work hard and bring back to their family. This means ensuring people have the resources when they need them, including healthcare, food security, and housing. Our helpline has heard from families contemplating dropping health coverage or not enrolling because it may impact their eligibility for changing their immigration status. Even though nothing has happened at this time, we are still hearing from people who are making this decision even before the rule changes go into effect. Our messages stay on coverage, but one of our callers, Maria, and her husband decided to drop health coverage because they didn't want to wait and worry. Their coverage, they live in Massachusetts and they have for 12 years. They're self-employed, their application for a green card is pending, and they didn't want to do anything that would jeopardize their immigration status because they want to stay here. Just think about that. A family giving up their access to health care and their financial stability, as well as what if something happens to them that could really ruin them as a self-employed business owners. And this is just because they want to stay here. They're investing in Massachusetts and they're able to continue on health coverage, but they're too scared to stay on their health coverage. Calls like Maria's will increase. This will mean children will not get immunizations. This will mean more people foregoing getting preventive care. This means reverting back to health care in the emergency room. This proposed rule will not save taxpayers money. In fact, it will take money out of communities and redirect money to the most costly parts of our healthcare system. We must speak up, raise our voices, and share the true human cost of what this public charge changes would actually mean to the people who are living this. And please file comments and get involved. Thank you.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Damaris Velasquez, and I'm the Director of Programs of Agencia Alpha. Agencia Alpha is a nonprofit organization, it's faith-based, and we have a legal department where we serve about 1,000 cases every year. So I'm here this afternoon to speak on behalf of that community, 1,000 voices that we hear every single year. And I'm also here to speak on my own behalf. I'm an immigrant myself. I came to the United States 28 years ago. My family and I had to flee Guatemala from a horrible poverty created by the Civil War. And when we arrived to the United States 28 years ago, and when in the process when I was learning to speak English, there was one African verse that I loved when I had to learn this new language. And it says, you probably know it, it takes a whole village to raise a child. And the reason why I like that so much is because I felt that it takes a whole village to raise an immigrant. So I was blessed to have a great village who were willing to support us during all these 28 years that we've been living in this country. I was undocumented for 23 of those years. I became a legal permanent resident because I married my husband, and I just became a citizen this past March. So I know, thank you. This is just one story of so many that you need to hear. I don't consider myself anything special. I just know that if I have the privilege to share my story, it's because during those years when I was undocumented and my family were just trying to adjust to this new community, we had to use safety net, and we had to use the help from many other sectors of our society. But we learned that it was just for a period of time. It took a village for us to be able to stay and be part of this society. 28 years after, I can tell you we don't need those benefits anymore, which is great because that's why they exist. It's just for a period of time, we understand. So how can you punish people because they are trying in the transition of adjusting to this new society? How can you punish them pretending to protect a nation? I'm standing here today to say that there are millions of people who are afraid, but still the resilience that we have does not allow us to go back. So we're here, and we're thankful to all of you, to the mayor, to the city councilors, to the representatives, to the different institutions, because we're here to fight. And all I gotta say to my own community is, no nos vamos a dar por vencidos, no nos vamos a quedar atrás, nos vamos a seguir organizando, no vamos a dejar que el temor nos arrope y nos quite de poder alcanzar una nueva victoria. What I'm saying is we're not gonna let fear take advantage of us, we're not gonna leave, we're not gonna just stop fighting. As a community, we gotta continue. And we have you, and you have us too. So thank you.
My name is Eloisa. I am the co-founder and executive director of the Brazilian Women's Group. And I became a citizen in this very space many years ago. And about 5 years ago, my daughter became a citizen here. And we became a citizen not only because we knew we wanted to live here, but also because we want to make a difference and vote. So we got to remember, Yeah, we have elections in a few days, and Wednesday is the last day to register. So if you know anyone who can register to vote, Wednesday is the last day for November 6th. I am here on behalf of the Brazilian community and the Brazilian Women's Group, not only to denounce this proposal from the federal administration, but also to honor my community, those who cannot be here, to give them a voice, either because they are working or because they are fearful. And we know, that fear can paralyze us, but indeed we should take fear into action. And we are here because those people working for us, they are taking care of our children, they are cleaning our houses, they are shopping for us, they are cleaning our bathrooms, our yards, but they also are living in the shadows. This proposal is not only the hardest, it's also mean-spirited because it penalizes working families and penalizes the neediest, the ones that are elderly, the ones that have disability, and you have to make a choice whether you put food on your table or you put a roof on your head, or you make sure your loved ones have access to medical assistance, or you get your papers, you adjust your status. So it's like, it's like a catch-22. And the Brazilian Women's Group has been working for 23 years with many of you, and as I look at the audience, I see so many people that have been working with us, and once more, we're gonna stand together. I look and I see and I need and I count on all of you to stand together, to fight this, to make sure that our families know that they should not give up any programs they are now because they don't have to do this right now, and that this is going to take some months, like many people before me have said. I just want to say that we should work and inform our communities to make as many comments as they can. And I'm going to finish borrowing Bob Dylan words. How many years some people can exist before they get free? They can be free. The answer, my friend, is blowing the wind. If we fight, we win. Yes, we can.
Okay, don't worry, this is it. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here. Special thanks to members of Congresswoman-elect Presley's staff, from Seth Moulton's office, from Senator Markey's office. Thank you so much for being here and standing with us. We know that we have a great team fighting for us in D.C., and we are all going to, everybody here, raise your hand if you're going to write a comment. That's what I thought. No one leaves the room without committing. So, thank you so much, everyone, for being here. We have 55 days on the clock to get 3,000 comments out of this Commonwealth, and I am believing in every single one of you to do one. So please text PIF to 52886. PIF to 52886. Join the campaign, stand with us. We are going to fight for our families. We're going to fight for working immigrant families in this Commonwealth, and we are going to win. Thank you. Have a great Monday.